thank you for coming here. As I woke up this morning, I'm thinking, because Mojgan said, you got to say something. I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to say? My problem isn't what to say, it's how I can keep it shorter. And so I thought of sort of three things. And probably the first is, in continuous improvement, vision is critical. So I always tell folks, when you do this, you have to see things as they are, not as you think they are. And that's tough. But to do continuous improvement well, you really have to see things as they are. And probably more importantly, you have to see things as they need to be, not as you wish them to be. And that's a big difference. So you guys are the leaders of this, and so you have to take this, what I call, to the next level. And I think a lot of things go wrong in business, especially with improvement, is when people start to see things as they see them and they want things to be as they wish them to be, untethered from what the situation really demands. And in higher education, just like Mary and Pierre said, we need that now. We need to focus on what the situation requires of us. The second piece of this is Taiichi Ohno, in some of his writings and discussions on lean, he talks about, obviously, waste and efficiency and all that stuff. He says a lot of folks who do this work get absorbed in that, forgetting that it's really about flow. And flow is about anticipation. How do you anticipate what the institution needs, and how do you make sure that we can get whatever is needed, be it knowledge goods or physical goods or whatever, to that point in time correctly and efficiently? And to me, that's the essence of it. So try to watch out for the fascination with lean and waste removal. And keep thinking about flow and anticipation. How do we help this institution anticipate and react quicker? And probably the last thing that I wanted to mention, and I had a conversation with Mojgan on this. Mojgan, you here? Where are you? There you are. You're back there. As we do our own Lean Six Sigma journey here in ITS, I've certainly seen a lot of folks go through the mechanics, absolutely do the analysis and everything. But I've noticed for a lot of the folks doing this work, it's always about something out there, right? So they're improving something, not them, right? Well, you got to improve yourself. So make it personal. It's not just about the thing out there. And I've seen some folks who do this continuous improvement work trip up in that. They get very good at looking what's out there and not examining what's in. So I think the leaders of this movement, which you guys are, you got to take that to the next level and say, hey, how do I think about my own self-improvement in this, or the way we go about our work, how can we improve it? And the story I like to tell in this is I have a family member, a niece, who I'm fond of talking about, Catherine Osterman. She was on the U.S. Olympic team in Athens and Beijing and just made it again at the ripe old age of 37. So she's the grandma on the team now. She was ESPN softball player of the decade 2000-2009 and collegiate record holder in strikeouts per 7 inning and Hall of Famer herself. And what's interesting about her progression throughout her career, which, and as a little girl going forward, for which I've had lots of interaction with my sister about, Catherine hated losing so much, there is nothing about her she would not change. So as a coach, I've asked her, what's your problem in recruiting? And she said, my biggest problem in recruiting is I get a lot of players who've kind of deluded themselves, and the parents have deluded themselves about what the capabilities really are. They're under-drilled and under-practiced and over-learned, meaning they've learned too broadly and not deeply. But more importantly, they haven't been applying the discipline of continuous improvement as faithfully as they should have. And in hindsight, after she told me that, I was thinking, there's several games that I've watched. I remember one game in the Olympics in Athens where she pitched and struck out 16 out of 21 batters, and I think they had one hit. And after the game, she came out to meet her dad, which is her number one coach, and they're talking, and the look on her face was like, oh my God, terrible game. That pitch was bad. That pitch could have gotten a homer. I walked that person I shouldn't have. You would have thought that she just pitched one of the worst games in her life. She had her own metrics, and she wasn't listening to what people thought it should be. She was looking for what it was and what it needed to be. And over the years between her and my brother-in-law, Gary, I think they've only said 3 times in 15 plus years that she's pitched a good game. And I think that's a great attitude. And if you look at all the really top performers, that's how they feel. Never good enough. So try to keep that in mind. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is a lot of this started with Mojgan when she was able to execute our Lean Six Sigma, which is already here, thanks to you. I don't know if you brought that in here, or if it was here, or Bob brought it in.
It was an extension.
And Extension brought it in.
Bob started a partnership with Extension.
The bulb was planted in Extension, it went over to Bob, and then Mojgan put all of ITS through it. And then in the middle of that, I went to Mojgan. I'm like, oh my God, this training is fantastic. Thank you. We need to turn this into like a big conference, which we did. So you guys are the revolution. I have a question. Name another university that has this many people so vibrantly working on this. Name a university. In fact, I'll ask you another question. How many standard deviations above the mean are we? This might be a Six Sigma practice.
Yeah.
We might be 6 standard deviations above the mean for universities. And that's a credit to you guys, so thank you very much. Keep up the good work and keep the revolution going.